The stars twinkled coldly as the Earth-ship Horizon drifted through the outer edges of the solar system. Captain Mark Reynolds stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the strange readings on the main screen. Something was out there. Something big. "Sir, the object is changing course. It's moving toward us," said Anna from her communication station. Her voice was steady, but her fingers gripped the edge of her console tightly. Mark nodded. First contact. After all these years of searching the stars, they weren't alone. "Keep all channels open. Broadcast the greeting package on all frequencies." The bridge crew worked quietly as the unknown ship grew larger on their screens. It was dark and spiky, like some deep-sea creature made of metal and sharp edges. "No response to our messages, sir," Anna reported. "They're scanning us heavily." Engineer Lisa looked up from her station with worry in her eyes. "Captain, their energy readings are off the charts. That ship has enough power to run a small city." "Defensive positions," Mark ordered. "But weapons stay cold. We don't want to start a war today." The alien ship suddenly accelerated, moving with a speed that seemed impossible for its size. Before anyone could react, the horizon shuddered as something locked onto their hull. "We're being boarded," Security Officer Jack shouted, drawing his weapon. "Multiple breaches on decks 2 and 3. Mark grabbed the ship-wide comm. "All hands, prepare for first contact protocol. Do not engage unless." The bridge doors exploded inward in a shower of metal and sparks. The crew ducked for cover as 5 massive shapes entered through the smoke. They were tall, at least 7 feet, with thick, leathery gray skin covered in what looked like natural armor plates. Their 4 eyes glowed yellow in the dim emergency lighting, and their mouths were filled with sharp teeth set in powerful jaws. "Humans," the lead alien said, the word sounding strange and guttural from its mouth. "You will come with us." Jack fired his weapon. The energy blast hit the alien square in the chest, leaving only a small burn mark. The alien didn't even flinch. "Your weapons are toys," it said, moving forward with surprising speed. Jack tried to dodge, but the alien grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing. "Stop," Mark shouted, standing up from behind his command chair. "Let him go. We'll cooperate." The alien studied Mark for a moment, then dropped Jack to the floor. "Wise. I am Commander Grell of the Ravager Expansion Fleet. Your species is unknown to us." Biologist Tom stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "We are humans from planet Earth. We come in peace." The aliens looked at each other, making odd clicking sounds that might have been laughter. "Earth?" Grell said, consulting a device on his wrist. "This cannot be correct. Our scans show your planet has extreme climate variation, high gravity, deadly radiation levels, and poisonous atmosphere components." "That's just home," Lisa said, confused by their reaction. Grell's 4 eyes blinked in what might have been surprise. "You evolved on this world naturally. Impossible. Such conditions would produce only the strongest warrior species." He studied the humans more closely. "Yet you appear soft, fragile." "Appearances can be deceiving," Mark said quietly. "Indeed," Grell responded. "You will be excellent specimens for study. The War Master will be most interested in how creatures like you survived on such a world." More aliens entered the bridge, securing the crew with strange metal cuffs. "What do you want from us?" Mark demanded as they were pushed toward the exit. Commander Grell's mouth plates shifted into what might have been a smile. "Knowledge, human. Your world should have produced ultimate warriors, like us. We evolved on Crucible, the harshest planet known to spacefaring races. It made us strong, unstoppable. We have conquered hundreds of worlds, and none could stand against us." His yellow eyes fixed on Mark. "Yet you frail creatures somehow survived on a world our scans say is even more extreme. This makes no sense. The War Master will want to understand this anomaly." As they were marched off their ship and into the alien vessel, Mark caught the eye of each crew member in turn. This wasn't over. They would find a way to escape, to warn Earth. Because if these Ravagers thought humans were fragile, they had a lot to learn about the true ultimate Deathworlders. Mark woke up on a cold metal table. Bright lights hurt his eyes. His arms and legs were held down by metal bands. He turned his head and saw the other 4 crew members, Lisa, Tom, Jack, and Anna, on similar tables nearby. "Everyone alive," he called out. Groans answered him as the others regained consciousness. "Where are we?" asked Lisa, testing her restraints. "Some kind of lab," Tom replied, looking around with professional interest despite their situation. "They've taken our equipment, but left our clothes." The room was large and circular, with strange machines lining the walls. The air smelled odd, like metal, and something sweet but wrong. A door slid open, and 3 Ravagers entered. The one in front wore a different kind of armor with symbols Mark didn't recognize. Behind it came 2 others carrying devices that looked like medical tools. "I am Chief Scientist Drav," the lead Ravager said. "You are now property of the Ravager Empire. Your responses to testing will determine if your species is worthy of servitude or only study." Jack strained against his restraints. "We're nobody's property." Drav ignored him, moving to a control panel. "Your physical structures appear inadequate for survival on the world our scans detected. We will begin with baseline strength assessments." The tables tilted, bringing the humans to a standing position while still restrained. Mechanical arms extended from the walls, pressing against their limbs with increasing force. "Push back," Drav ordered. Mark felt the pressure grow against his arms and legs. It was uncomfortable, then painful, but he pushed back as hard as he could. Around him, the others did the same, faces red with effort. Drav made a clicking sound. "Interesting. Your muscle density is only 68% of Ravager standard, yet your strength output exceeds expected parameters." The pressure stopped. The tables moved again, bringing them horizontal. A strange gas filled the room. "This is a diluted atmosphere mix from Crucible," Drav explained. "We will observe your adaptation." The air became heavy and bitter. Mark coughed, his lungs burning. But after a few painful minutes, his breathing steadied. He could see the others struggling but adapting as well. "Remarkable," Drav said, examining readings on his device. "Your respiratory systems are compensating. Not as efficiently as a Ravager's, but you should not be able to breathe at all." Tom spoke between deep breaths. "Earth's atmosphere has changed many times throughout our history. Our ancestors adapted each time." Drav moved closer to Tom. "Explain." "Our planet has gone through periods of high oxygen, low oxygen, high carbon dioxide. Life survived each change." "Impossible," a second Ravager scientist said. "Planetary conditions must remain stable for advanced species to evolve." "Not on Earth," Anna said. "Our planet has deserts, Arctic regions, rainforests, deep oceans, all with different conditions. Humans have lived in all of them." The Ravagers consulted among themselves, making those strange clicking sounds again. Drav approached Jack's table. "Your physical resistance must be tested further." The restraint on Jack's right arm loosened slightly. A mechanical arm delivered a sharp tool to Drav, who pressed it against Jack's forearm, drawing blood. Jack gritted his teeth, but didn't cry out. Mark strained against his restraints, furious but helpless. "Pain response normal," Drav noted, collecting the blood sample. "Yet your companion shows unusual restraint." "We're trained for worse," Jack said with a grim smile. Drav moved to a large screen, displaying images of Earth, mountains, oceans, cities in different environments. "Your world experiences temperature variations from -50 to +50 of your degrees, gravity at 9.8 units, constant radiation from your sun, atmosphere containing nitrogen, oxygen, and multiple trace gases toxic to most species, regular geological upheavals, extreme weather patterns." Drav turned to look at the humans. Crucible is considered the harshest known world in the galaxy, yet your Earth exceeds it in environmental diversity and extremes. The door opened again. A larger Ravager entered, its armor decorated with what looked like trophies, bones, and metal pieces from various species. Commander Grill, Drav acknowledged. The preliminary results are unexpected. Grill approached Mark's table, leaning down to look at him eye to eye. All four of its yellow eyes blinked slowly. The War Master has taken personal interest in your species, Grell said. He comes to see you himself. This is a rare honor before conquest. We don't want any honors, Mark said evenly. We want to go home. Grell's mouth plates shifted in that strange almost smile. Soon you will understand, human. When the ultimate warriors of the galaxy find worthy opponents, there is only one possible outcome. As Grell left, Mark caught Lisa's eye across the room. She gave him a subtle nod. They'd survived the first tests. They'd learn more about their captors. And somehow, they'd find a way out before this War Master arrived. 3 days passed. The tests grew harder. The humans were separated, each taken to different rooms for what Drav called specialized evaluation. Mark worried about his crew, but he could do nothing while strapped to his table. Today, the restraints were different. They allowed Mark to sit up, though his ankles remained secured. 2 Ravager guards stood nearby, weapons ready. The door opened. A massive Ravager entered, nearly a foot taller than the others. Its armor was black with red markings, and bones from many species were woven into its shoulder plates. 4 yellow eyes fixed on Mark with cold interest. I am War Master Krov, it said, voice deeper than the others. Supreme Commander of the Ravager fleet. You are the human leader. It wasn't a question. Mark nodded anyway. Your species confuses us, Krov continued, circling the table. Chief Scientist Drav has compared your world to our crucible. The results are disturbing. A screen lit up on the wall, showing 2 planets side by side, Earth and what must be Crucible. Charts and numbers appeared, comparing them. Crucible has 1.8 times your gravity. Constant storms of acid rain. Temperature swings of 40 degrees in a single day. Predators evolve to kill in hundreds of ways. Croft pointed at the screen. For 10,000 years, we believed nothing could be harsher than our homeworld. It made us the strongest species in the galaxy. The screen changed, highlighting Earth's data in red. Yet your world has deeper oceans with crushing pressures, more extreme weather in more varied patterns, higher biodiversity of both prey and predator species, more geological activity, more varied terrain, higher radiation levels from your sun. Croft turned to Mark, all 4 eyes narrowed. How did your kind survive such conditions and develop spaceflight? Mark thought carefully before answering. We adapted, not just with our bodies, but with our minds. We learned to change our environment when we couldn't change ourselves. Weakness, Croft said dismissively. The strong adapt. The weak try to change what cannot be changed. Is it weak to build a shelter in a storm, or to make a coat for cold weather? Krov made that strange clicking sound. Perhaps not, but it means your bodies are soft. You rely on tools, not strength. We have both, Mark said. The door opened again. Guards brought in the other 4 humans. They looked tired but unharmed. Mark felt relief washing over him. Your companions have been tested individually, Krov said. Each shows unexpected traits. The female engineer understood our power systems after only brief exposure. The security male broke restraints designed to hold Ravager warriors. The biology male identified weaknesses in our ship's environmental controls. The communication female learned basic elements of our language. Krov stepped closer to Mark. These are not the actions of a weak species. These are the actions of survivors, of warriors. We're explorers, Mark corrected, not warriors. All species are warriors when threatened, Krov replied. And all species serve a purpose in the galaxy. The strong rule. The worthy serve. The weak perish. This is the natural order. Croft touched a control on his armor. The restraints on Mark's table released completely. Mark stood slowly, rubbing his wrists. I offer you a choice, human leader. Help us understand how your species survived on such a world, and your people will be offered worthy status in our empire. Refuse, and Earth will be conquered anyway, but with much bloodshed. Why do you need our help if you're so strong? Lisa asked from across the room. Croft turned to her. Because your world will kill my warriors if we do not understand it first. We have conquered hundreds of planets, but none like Earth. Its conditions exceed even Crucible's harshness. If humans can teach Ravagers to survive there, both our species benefit. And if we refuse? Mark asked. Then we take what we need by force, Croft said simply. Study your species through dissection instead of cooperation. Extract Earth's resources and leave. Mark looked at his crew. They all showed the same determination in their eyes. We need time to discuss this, Mark said. You have until tomorrow, Croft replied. But know this, the Ravager fleet already moves toward your solar system. One way or another, we will learn Earth's secrets. As Croft left the room, Tom whispered to Mark, I found something during my tests. Something important about their biology. Me too, Lisa added. Their ship has weaknesses. Mark nodded slightly. Tonight, we make our move. The Ravagers kept the humans in a single holding cell after Croft's meeting. 2 guards stood outside. The cell had one bed, a strange toilet, and nothing else. The 5 sat close together, speaking in whispers. Tell me what you found, Mark said quietly. Tom leaned in. Their immune systems are weak. They've never been exposed to the diversity of microbes we have on Earth. I noticed the scientist who took my blood sample got sick an hour later. Our normal bacteria are dangerous to them. Their ship has a design flaw, Lisa added. Their power systems can't handle rapid temperature changes. When they tested me in their engine room, I saw the cooling system struggle with just a 5-degree shift. They underestimate us, Jack said. The restraints they use now are weaker than the first ones. I can break them if needed. Anna nodded. And I've learned enough of their language to understand basic commands and read simple signs. I know where the hangar bay is. Mark smiled for the first time in days. Good. We need to warn Earth about what's coming. Their fleet is already on the way. But how do we get out? Lisa asked. Mark looked at Tom. Your bacteria made one of them sick. Tom nodded. Yes, and they don't understand why. They keep their ship very clean, almost sterile. Then that's our distraction. Mark turned to Jack. When the guards change shift, fake being sick. Cough a lot. Act like you're having trouble breathing. Got it, Jack agreed. Then what? Lisa asked. They'll need to investigate. When they come in, we'll have our chance. We split up to increase our odds. Jack and Anna. Head for the communications center. Send a warning to Earth. Tom, Lisa, and I will try to steal a shuttle. They waited. Hours passed. Finally, the guards outside shifted positions. New Ravagers took their place. Now, Mark whispered. Jack began to cough, then wheeze. He fell to the floor, making horrible gasping sounds. Help! Mark shouted, pounding on the cell door. Something's wrong with him. The guards looked in through the small window. Jack convulsed on the floor. One guard touched a control, and the door slid open. 2 Ravagers entered, weapons ready. Stand back, one ordered. The humans moved to the walls, except Jack, who continued to writhe on the floor. When both guards leaned down to examine him, Jack's eyes snapped open. In one smooth motion, he grabbed both guards' heads and smashed them together with surprising force. They collapsed, stunned. Go, Mark ordered. They grabbed the guards' weapons and ran into the corridor. At the first junction, they split up as planned. Mark, Lisa, and Tom headed left, while Jack and Anna went right. Alarms began to sound almost immediately. Red lights flashed along the walls. "This way to the hangar," Tom said, leading them down a corridor. They ran into two Ravager guards. Mark fired the alien weapon, which made a hissing sound. A burst of energy hit one guard in the chest, dropping him. Lisa shot the other. "These are just stun weapons," she said, examining hers as they ran. "They want us alive," Mark replied. They reached a large door. Tom tried the control panel, but it was locked. "Let me," Lisa said, prying open a panel beside the door. She touched several wires together, and the door slid open. The hangar bay was massive, filled with various ships. Most were too large, but Mark spotted several smaller vessels near the far wall. "Those look like scout ships," he said, pointing. "Should be manageable for us to fly." As they ran toward the ships, the gravity suddenly increased. Mark felt his body growing heavier with each step. Soon, he could barely move. "They're increasing the gravity," Lisa gasped, struggling to stay upright. Tom was already on his knees. This must be close to crucible normal for them. Mark forced himself to keep moving, each step taking enormous effort. His muscles burned, but he refused to stop. Behind them, a door opened. Commander Grell entered with 4 guards, moving easily in the increased gravity. "Impressive," Grell said, watching Mark's painful progress. "Most species would be crushed flat at this gravity level." "Earth," Mark grunted, taking another step, "has higher gravity areas. Deep sea pressure is much worse." Lisa had fallen to her hands and knees but was still crawling forward. Tom remained conscious but couldn't move. Grell approached Mark, who had managed to stay on his feet despite the crushing weight. "You continue to surprise us, human. Perhaps War Master Krav is right to offer you worthy status." The gravity suddenly returned to normal. Mark almost fell forward from the sudden release. "But your resistance ends now," Grell said. "I don't think so," Mark replied, and drove his fist into Grell's face with all his strength. The Ravager staggered back, dark blood leaking from between its mouth plates. It touched the blood in what appeared to be shock. "No non-Ravager has ever drawn blood from a commander," Grell said, voice vibrating with anger. The guards raised their weapons. "Maybe it's time you met your match," Mark said, raising his own weapon. A sudden explosion rocked the ship, throwing everyone off balance. Emergency lights flashed throughout the hangar. "What's happening?" Grell demanded into a communicator on his wrist. Over the ship's speakers, a panicked voice replied, "Unknown biological contamination spreading through the ventilation system. Multiple warriors down with respiratory failure." Mark looked at Tom, who gave a slight nod and a small smile. Earth's invisible defenders, its microbes, had joined the fight. The explosion gave them the chance they needed. As Grell and the guards were distracted, Mark fired his weapon, stunning 2 of them. Lisa took down another. Tom grabbed a fallen weapon and shot the 4th guard. Only Grell remained standing. The commander lunged at Mark with surprising speed, knocking the weapon from his hands. They crashed to the floor. Grell was stronger, pinning Mark down easily. "Impressive resistance," Grell said, "but futile." Mark struggled, but couldn't break free. Then Grell suddenly stiffened and fell sideways. Lisa stood behind him, holding a metal pipe she had broken off some equipment. "Thanks," Mark gasped, getting to his feet. "He's not dead, just unconscious," Lisa said. "These Ravagers can take a lot of damage." Tom was already at the nearest scout ship, examining its entry hatch. "I think I can get this open," he said. More alarms blared throughout the hangar. The ship's speakers announced, "Contamination spreading to decks 4 through 7. All warriors don medical filtration gear. Human prisoners are loose. Capture or stun only, by order of War Master Krav." "Hurry," Mark urged, helping Lisa drag Grell's body behind some containers. Tom got the hatch open, and they climbed inside the small ship. The controls were strange, but had some similarities to Earth vessels. Lisa examined the navigation system while Tom looked at the engine controls. "I can fly this," Lisa said confidently. "The principles are similar, just different layouts." "Then let's go," Mark said. "Can you find Jack and Anna?" Tom checked a screen near what looked like a communications panel. "There's a lot of activity near the ship's communications center. That must be where they are. We can't leave without them," Mark said. Lisa nodded. "I'll keep the engines ready. You two figure out how to use the ship's weapons. We might need them." The hangar doors suddenly began to close, massive metal plates sliding across the opening to space. "They're sealing us in," Tom shouted. Lisa hit several controls. The scout ship hummed to life, lifting off the floor. "Hold on," she called, pushing the thrust controls forward. The small ship shot toward the narrowing gap. They weren't going to make it. The opening was too small now. "There," Tom pointed at a control panel. "That looks like weapons." Mark pressed what he hoped was the firing control. A beam of energy lanced out from the ship, hitting the edge of the hangar door. Metal melted and warped. The door mechanism jammed. Lisa angled the ship, and they squeezed through the damaged opening, scraping the sides with a horrible shrieking noise. Then they were in space, the massive Ravager mothership behind them. "We made it," Tom said, breathless. "Not all of us," Mark replied grimly. "Find the communications center. We need to help Jack and Anna." Lisa flew the ship in a tight arc, bringing them alongside the mothership. Tom adjusted the sensors, scanning for human life signs. "There," he said, pointing at the screen. 2 human readings, surrounded by Ravagers. The scout ship had external cameras. Mark activated them, getting a view of the outer hull. He could see a section where the ship's armor was thinner, an external communications array. "Can we cut through there with the weapons?" he asked. Lisa studied the readings. "Yes, but we'd need to be precise. Too much power, and we might hit Jack and Anna inside." "Do it," Mark ordered. Lisa maneuvered the ship close to the hull, hovering near the communications array. Tom adjusted the weapon power to its lowest setting. "Firing," Tom said, activating the beam. The energy beam cut slowly through the hull, creating a small, precise hole. As soon as it broke through, Mark grabbed a weapon and moved to the ship's airlock. "I'm going in," he said. "Keep the ship ready to fly." "That's crazy," Lisa protested. "The vacuum will." "The Ravagers have emergency force fields for hull breaches," Tom interrupted. "I saw them in their technical manuals. The breach will be contained, but it will cause confusion." Mark nodded. "Exactly. I'll get them out through the hole, and you pick us up." Before they could argue further, Mark had the airlock open. He pushed off toward the hole they'd cut in the mothership's hull. As Tom predicted, a shimmering force field covered the breach from the inside, containing the atmosphere. Mark could see through it into the communications center. Jack and Anna were there, surrounded by Ravagers. They had clearly put up a fight. Several Ravagers lay unconscious, and Jack was bleeding from a wound on his head. Mark aimed his weapon at the force field and fired. The energy disrupted the field just long enough for him to dive through. He rolled to his feet inside the communications center, firing rapidly at the surprised Ravagers. "Mark," Anna shouted. "We sent the warning. Earth knows they're coming." Jack grabbed a fallen Ravager's weapon and joined Mark in fighting off the remaining guards. "Our ride is outside," Mark said, pointing at the breach. "Time to go." Outside the hole, the scout ship hovered, its hatch open. Lisa had brought it as close as possible to the breach. "Jump," Mark ordered. Anna went first, pushing off from the wall and floating through the temporary vacuum into the scout ship's open airlock. Jack followed, then Mark. As they sealed the airlock, energy blasts from the mothership began hitting their scout ship. "Get us out of here," Mark shouted as he made it to the control room. Lisa pushed the engines to full power. The scout ship shot away from the mothership, racing into the darkness of space. "Did you really warn Earth?" Tom asked Anna. She nodded, catching her breath. Complete technical specs of their ships, their weapons, their tactics, everything we learned, and their weaknesses. She looked at Tom, including their vulnerability to our bacteria. Mark looked out at the stars, toward where Earth would be. "Then we have a fighting chance. Now we just need to get home ahead of their fleet." Lisa pushed the scout ship's engines beyond what they were designed for. The small vessel shuddered as it raced through space, leaving the Ravager mothership behind. Their head start wouldn't last long. The main fleet was still coming. "How far to Earth?" Mark asked, looking over the strange navigation displays. 3 days at maximum speed," Lisa replied. Her fingers danced across the alien controls. "But I don't think this ship was meant for long journeys. The power core is already straining." Tom was examining Ravager data files he had downloaded during his captivity. "We need to understand everything about them before we reach Earth. Their weaknesses, their strengths, their tactics." Jack winced as Anna cleaned the wound on his head. "What did you learn from their communications?" "The Ravager fleet consists of 32 warships," Anna said, "all headed for Earth. They'll arrive 5 days after us if we maintain this speed." 5 days to prepare Earth for an invasion," Mark said grimly. "Not much time." Tom looked up from his datapad. "I've been studying their biology more closely. They're stronger than us, but they evolved for short bursts of extreme action, not endurance. Their homeworld made them powerful, but it also shaped their limitations." "What kind of limitations?" Mark asked. "Their respiratory system can handle toxic atmospheres, but it's not efficient with oxygen. They tire quickly in oxygen-rich environments. Their skin is tough but sensitive to salt water. It's actually corrosive to them. And they can't handle rapid temperature changes. Their bodies don't adapt quickly." Lisa nodded excitedly. "That explains why their ship's environmental controls were so precisely maintained. Even small variations caused systems to struggle. And we know our microbes affect them," Jack added. "Their immune systems have never been exposed to Earth's biological diversity." Mark thought deeply. "So they're physically stronger, but we have endurance. They can survive extreme conditions, but not changing conditions. They have advanced technology, but it has the same weaknesses they do." "Exactly," Tom said. "Everything about them is specialized for their world, while everything about us is adaptable." The ship suddenly lurched, throwing them against the walls. Warning lights flashed across the control panels. "What was that?" Mark demanded. Lisa checked the readouts. "The power core is overheating. We're pushing it too hard." She adjusted some controls. "I'm reducing speed, but that means we'll only reach Earth about 3 days ahead of them now." "Better than not reaching Earth at all," Mark said. "Keep us moving. We'll make the most of whatever time we have." Over the next 2 days, they studied the Ravager data, learning everything they could about their enemy. They took turns sleeping in the small crew quarters, always keeping someone at the controls. On the 3rd day, they saw Earth appear on their view screens, a beautiful blue marble hanging in the blackness of space. "We're being hailed," Anna said from the communication station. "Military frequencies. They want identification." "Open a channel," Mark ordered. Anna pressed several controls. "Channel open." "This is Captain Mark Reynolds of the Earth ship Horizon. We're in a captured alien vessel. Authorization code November. Echo Sierra 72. Earth is about to be invaded. Repeat, Earth is about to be invaded by a hostile alien fleet. They call themselves the Ravagers. They'll be here in 3 days." There was a long pause before a response came through. "Captain Reynolds, this is Earth Defense Command. Your warning transmission was received. All global military forces have been mobilized. Civilian evacuation to hardened shelters is underway. Please proceed to these coordinates for immediate landing." A set of coordinates appeared on their navigation screen. "They got our message," Tom said with relief. "And they believed it," Lisa added, adjusting their course for the landing site. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, they could see activity below. Military vehicles moved across the landscape. Aircraft filled the skies. The world was preparing for war. The scout ship landed at a military base somewhere in the American Midwest. Armed soldiers surrounded them as they exited the craft, weapons ready until their identities were confirmed. A tall woman in a general's uniform approached them. "Captain Reynolds, I'm General Harris. You and your crew have done your world a great service. Thanks to your warning and the data you sent, we've been preparing. But we need to know everything else you can tell us about these Ravagers." "They think they're the ultimate warriors," Mark said. "They evolved on the harshest known planet in the galaxy, but they've never encountered anything like Earth before. Or Earthlings," Tom added. General Harris nodded. "Then let's make sure they remember their first visit to our planet, because it will also be their last." As they walked toward the base headquarters, Mark looked up at the blue sky. In 3 days, that sky would be filled with Ravager warships. But for the first time, he felt hope. The Ravagers had no idea what they were in for. Earth wasn't just any death world. It was the death world. And its people were ready to prove it. The 3 days passed quickly. Earth prepared for war unlike anything in human history. Nations set aside their differences, uniting against the alien threat. Military bases worldwide became staging grounds for defense. Scientists worked around the clock, creating weapons based on Ravager weaknesses. Mark and his crew were at the center of it all. Tom worked with medical teams, developing biological countermeasures. Lisa helped engineers understand Ravager technology. Jack trained special forces in Ravager combat techniques. Anna shared her knowledge of their language and communications. On the morning of the 3rd day, radar stations worldwide detected the incoming fleet. 32 massive warships entered the solar system. The Ravagers had arrived. "They're sending a transmission," Anna said in the command center. "It's War Master Krov." The main screen lit up with Krov's four-eyed face. "People of Earth, your captured crew members have shown you are worthy opponents, but resistance is futile. Surrender now, and you will serve the Ravager Empire with honor. Resist, and you will be conquered anyway, at great cost to your world." General Harris stepped forward. "This is Earth Defense Command. We offer a counterproposal. Leave our system immediately, and we'll consider it a peaceful first contact. Stay, and you'll learn why Earth is the true death world." Krov made that strange clicking sound. "You have courage, but you do not understand what you face. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. None have stood against us. None of them were Earth," Mark said, stepping into view. "Captain Reynolds," Krov acknowledged. "You escaped our ship. Impressive, but it changes nothing. We will take what we want from your world." "Then come and try," Mark replied. The transmission ended. Moments later, the Ravager fleet began its approach to Earth. "All defense systems ready," General Harris announced. "Operation Homeworld is a go." Earth's militaries had prepared traps based on the crew's intelligence. The first was simple. They let the Ravagers land. Not in populated areas, but in carefully chosen locations. The main Ravager force touched down in the Amazon rainforest. Others landed in the Australian outback, the Siberian tundra, and the Sahara Desert. Diverse environments, each with its own extreme conditions. In the command center, they watched as the Ravagers deployed from their ships. "They're using environmental suits," Tom noted. "They learned something from our escape. But those suits have the same design flaws as their ships," Lisa replied. "They can't adapt to rapid changes." The first battles went badly for Earth's forces. Ravager weapons were powerful, their soldiers strong. They pushed forward from their landing zones, easily overwhelming the initial human defenses. But this was part of the plan. Earth wasn't fighting a conventional war. In the Amazon, heavy rains began, not natural, but created by cloud seeding technology. The Ravagers' equipment began to malfunction in the extreme humidity. Their suits couldn't handle the rapid temperature changes as they moved between sun-drenched clearings and deep shade. In Australia, defenders lured Ravager forces into areas where the ground had been saturated with salt water. Their skin began to burn on contact. Their advance slowed, then stopped. In Siberia, special forces used hit-and-run tactics, forcing the Ravagers to exert themselves in the cold. Just as Tom had predicted, they couldn't maintain their strength for long periods. They tired quickly in Earth's oxygen-rich atmosphere. In the Sahara, temperature extremes between day and night caused havoc with their equipment and their biology. By the third day of fighting, the tide had turned. The Ravagers were struggling everywhere. War Master Krav is leading a direct assault on our headquarters, General Harris reported. He's bringing his flagship down, 10 miles from here. He wants to end this personally, Mark said. Let him come. They prepared the final trap. When Krav's ship landed, they didn't attack it. Instead, they let Krav and his elite guards advance toward the base. Mark met them halfway, standing alone on a hillside. You still don't understand, Krav said, approaching in his environmental suit. I am the ultimate warrior of the ultimate species. No human can match me. You're right, Mark replied. I can't match your strength, or your armor, or your weapons. Then surrender, Krav demanded. But strength isn't everything, Mark continued. On Earth, the strongest don't always survive. The most adaptable do. At Mark's signal, sprinklers hidden in the ground activated, spraying salt water into the air. Simultaneously, heaters beneath the soil kicked on, rapidly raising the ground temperature. The air filled with a fine mist containing earth bacteria. Krav's warriors began to falter almost immediately. Their suits couldn't handle the multiple environmental changes at once. The salt water found tiny gaps in their armor. The bacteria infiltrated their breathing systems. Krav alone remained standing, fighting through the pain as his suit systems failed one by one. You fight without honor, he growled, advancing on Mark. We fight to survive, Mark corrected, like we always have. Krav lunged forward, but his movements were slow now. Mark sidestepped easily. For 10 minutes, the pattern continued. Krav attacking with decreasing strength, Mark evading. The War Master's legendary endurance was failing against a human who had evolved on a world that demanded constant adaptation. Finally, Krav collapsed to his knees, his breathing labored. How? He gasped. How are you still standing? Mark looked down at the defeated warrior. Because Earth doesn't create the strongest. It creates the toughest. The most adaptable, the ones who never quit. Around the world, the remaining Ravager forces were surrendering or retreating to their ships. This isn't over, Krav warned. Yes, Mark said, it is. Return to your fleet. Tell every species in the galaxy what happened here. Tell them Earth is off limits. Tell them what happens when the ultimate Deathworlders meet their match. 3 days later, the Ravager fleet left Earth's orbit. Krav had been given no choice but to accept defeat, the first in the Empire's long history. As Mark watched the ships depart on the command center's view screen, Anna translated an intercepted transmission between Ravager vessels. They're adding a new classification to their galactic database, she said with a smile. Earth is now listed as Deathworld Prime, and humans are classified as Apex Adapters. Do not engage. Mark smiled. Welcome to Earth.